Sherm Chester with you on this edition of the Seco Sports Forum. It's a notebook edition. We just finished off Thanksgiving holiday weekend and Black Friday and let's see, Cyber Monday and Giving Tuesday. So we're into the holiday mode for sure. And I know a lot of the folks that usually join us are busy and taking some time off in between sports because the fall season is officially done and over with. And a Division One New Hampshire champion was crowned this past weekend. Congratulations to the Bedford Bulldogs. They came up with a convincing 35-7 win over the Pinkerton Astros. I guess it was a team on a mission this year. The Bedford Bulldogs with an undefeated season, 12-0, and big factor there was, and I keep talking about this guy, Brody Helton, the running back slash linebacker for the Bulldogs, helping them to that perfect record and the title. And he was also named the Yukica Award winner for 2025. Roger Brown mentioned that he was one of the finalists. Well, he took the title, and the New Hampshire Football Player of the Year. What a year. Over 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns on 162 carries, 15 pass receptions for 178 yards, 64 tackles, 3 of those were sacks, and an interception for a pick six. So what a way to cap your football career. But it's not over. I mean, Brody is a lacrosse player, and I know we'll be seeing him in the spring playing lacrosse for the Bulldogs, and he will be playing Division One college lacrosse in 2026. But what a season! What a season for the Bulldogs in general, but in particular for Brody Helton. So congratulations, rounding out his career as a Bulldog football player. And looking at other football news, and we're going to make this short this week. The Patriots, wow! We've been talking about them. They are for real. They're at 11-2, 10 wins in a row. Is there no stopping this Drake May juggernaut called the Patriots? Mike Vrabel has got them focused, and even with a few players out, they're still doing good things. Now, granted, their 35-15 Monday night football win over the New York Football Giants that made it 10 in a row. Wow, they just didn't give an inch in that game, and they were putting the hurt on those Giants, who are hurting for sure. That one hit, I don't know if you saw the game, but there was one hit in the game where the quarterback should have gotten out of bounds, and he didn't. He tried to get cute and walk the line, and one of the Patriots players just came over and cleaned his clock. They threw a flag, but it wasn't on the hit. It was a legal hit, but it was the interaction afterwards because both sides started to push and shove and jaw with each other, and they did throw the flag against the Giants for unsportsmanlike conduct. Wow, it was quite a game. And funny thing about Monday Night Football, the Patriots, and I was reading this in the Globe today, the Patriots used to play on Monday nights back in the good old days in the 70s when Howard Cosell and Dandy Don Meredith and Kathy Lee Gifford. No, not Kathy Lee Gifford, Frank Gifford. That would have been an interesting booth. Anyway, Frank Gifford, Cosell, and Meredith were in the booth at that point in the 70s. And on Monday Night Football, there was a game against the Jets when the Patriots were creaming the Jets, and a bunch of fans went out on the field, and they had a couple of other games in the 80s where the crowd was unruly, and finally the town of Foxborough said, no, that's it. We're not going to accept any more Monday Night Football contest until further notice. And it wasn't until the Brady era that actually they got another Monday Night Football game. It was in the 90s before they actually were back on Monday Night Football. Their record, by the way, I think is like 25-12 on Monday Night Football. So, yeah, it was interesting. The worst part of a game, and I went 2 years ago to see the final Bill Belichick era game against the Jets, and it was a really bad weather day, weather weekend. It was a nor'easter, a classic nor'easter coming up the coast and hitting right at game time. And getting out of that stadium, I don't care how fancy and how nice it is, it's a nightmare to try to drive out of Foxborough after a game. And it doesn't matter if it's a Monday night, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night game, whatever. It's always interesting, especially when you got Mother Nature playing games too. But back to the fact that they are on a roll. They got a bye this week, and then they get into a real interesting part of their schedule, 2 games in a row. On December 14th, the Patriots play the Buffalo Bills, and that will decide if the Bills have a shot at being the AFC East leader. They're right now 2 games back. So right now, the fate of the Patriots taking the East Conference, and right now the Patriots have the best record in the NFL at 11-2. That could be interesting because right after they finish with the Bills, they got to play the Ravens. And the Ravens, even though they haven't played up to their expectations of a lot of folks, including our friend Sam Bruno, who thought they were going to be a clear favorite going into the Super Bowl this year, those 2 contests, the Bills and Ravens, are going to decide, for all intents and purposes, if the Patriots are going to be taking charge of their fate, because then they play the Jets, then they play the Miami Dolphins in the final game of the season. So Final Four for the Patriots will be a big factor in deciding their fate. They've had, as people say, a cream puff schedule up to this point, but I don't think anybody thought they'd be this good, this fast. But Mike Vrabel has got them playing with high-octane fuel, that's for sure, and let's hope it doesn't run out. And then on the other side of the coin for football over the weekend, the UNH Wildcats, they had won 5 games in a row, including their final game of the season, regular season, against the UMaine Black Bears, and that was the border battle where they kept the Bryce Kyle Musket. That gave them a chance to go into the FCS playoffs. They had to play the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, and unfortunately for them, they came out on the short side, 34-3 in the first round of that playoff. They finished the season, the Wildcats, at 8-5 and 6-2 in the conference. You know, one thing I will say, I watched the first half of that game, and I knew it wasn't going to go in their favor just from what I saw, but just a note to Rick Santos. Now, we get storms. We're in the midst of a storm as I record this here in New England, and I would get the team before they break for the rest of the year out on that field and practice in snowy conditions, because that's exactly what South Dakota, you could see, was used to playing in a snow bowl. I think South Dakota State had the upper hand there, playing in those adverse conditions. So I think, yeah, it would have been, if we had had a storm before they went out to play in that snow globe, I think it would have given the Wildcats a better chance, because it did change the dynamics for passing for Matt Vezza and his wide receivers, and also the running backs too. So, and the kicking game too. The winds were blowing out there too. So no excuses. They had a great season, and Rick Santos should be proud of how his team responded. And it's a good building block. I think, I hope, Roger Brown and I have talked about this. We hope that Matt Vezza sticks with the Wildcats and builds a career. We'll see how that goes because of the portal. Everybody can jump ship at any point now and move on to a bigger or better school. But right now, I hope Matt Vezza is happy as the leader, and he is the leader of the Wildcats on the field. Speaking of a former Wildcat leader, it was a bad weekend for Max Brosmer. On the last show, I said Max was getting a start for the Minnesota Vikings, and I kept saying, Max always seemed to respond whenever he was put into the hot seat. When I watched him play at UNH as a Wildcat quarterback, the NFL, it moves a lot faster, obviously, than the college game, and he looked not like a deer in the headlights, but Max had a bad game. Threw 4 picks in the game and 5 interceptions overall. And it just was not anywhere near where Max Brosmer would have liked to have shown his skills. Matter of fact, what was the final take for the day? He completed 19 out of 30 passes for 126 yards and 4 interceptions, and no touchdowns in that loss to the Seattle Seahawks. And they have a heck of a good defense, and they showed it. They had Max scrambling all day. They had him on his back a few times. So, I wish Max had a chance to get into an earlier contest, so he could have had a chance to kind of work into this. But let's go back to what I was talking with Roger Brown last week. When Drew Bledsoe went down years ago and Tom Brady got his shot to back him up, it wasn't all peaches and cream from the beginning for Brady. I mean, it was a learning assignment for him. Especially, you've been used to a college system that is different. It's just different. The game isn't as fast. It doesn't come at you as quite as fast, and it just is a learning process. So I would like to see Max get another shot. Unfortunately, I guess J.J. McCarthy is coming back for the Vikings this coming week because he's off the protocol. He was on the concussion protocol for a couple of weeks. But I guess from what I heard, McCarthy will be back and Brosmer will be back into the, I guess, third hole as far as depth chart for quarterback. I want to see the kid get a break. He really is nails. He is. And I feel bad that it just it wasn't his day. And the funny thing is, Sam Darnold is the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, and he had been the Vikings quarterback. They let him go. He didn't do much better. I mean, as far as he didn't actually throw a TD in that game, and as far as the attempts and yardage, it was about the same for him and Brosmer. The only thing is he didn't throw the 4 picks, and that's something that is a big no-no for a quarterback. So the one in particular that kept showing on ESPN, I don't know, Max, if he was tripping or what happened, but he kind of did a shovel pass forward to, I think, one of the receivers, but maybe it was a back, and it got picked off for 6 points, and it was bad. It looked bad, and it was bad. But I hope Max Brosmer does get a chance again with the Vikings, or if it happens, another team, because I do think the kid is nails. He just needs more time, just like Brady did, to see what's coming at him and get used to it, and hopefully get a defense that isn't as tight as Seattle was in that game. And to wrap up the football season for the Bluehawks, our local team that I'm affiliated with, we had our annual awards presentation. I just appreciate the fact that this fellow, Bill Ball, the coach of the Bluehawks, can get up and for about an hour articulate off the cuff the assets of the season and of each player on the team. I mean, it just, I have to have notes. He's been doing it a while, so he's used to it, but I don't think I could ever get used to being in front of a crowd and doing that. 2-minute drill, I just want to also, as part of the annual awards presentation, at the very end, they do a year in review, all the action photos that the team photographers, Jenny Bishop, and a lady that I've been working with for years up there for all the different sports, Sandy Healy, who's been the team photographer. She's been there through thick and thin, and good weather and bad, and you can always count on Sandy putting together a great presentation it's the highlight, it's the capstone of each and every awards ceremony. So, as I said to her the other day, Sandy, the technology has changed over the years we've been doing these presentations, but it's always a top shelf presentation. It gives the kids their due, and it also is a fun part of the thing because they show the kids as they've grown over the years, literally. So anyway, thank you, Sandy Healy, for all the hard work you do. Jenny Bishop, the boosters, Derek and company. This year was one of the most cohesive units I've seen up there. And thank you for your support. Thank you to the support team, support staff at the school that helped me out doing my public address announcing. And thanks to also the NHIAA. That wraps up the fall sports season. On to the winter sports season. We got basketball. I'll be doing some public address announcing for the Bluehawks in just a couple of weeks when they start their home season. And then we'll be getting into hockey and all sorts of sports. Matter of fact, we'll try to get Jay Pinsino and Brandon Brown to join us from Seacoast Media Group. They'll be doing their winter previews of all the different sports. I know they're busy people, so I hope we can get them on real soon. And remember, if you're enjoying the program, please pass the word. We're on all the major podcast platforms. And if you've got any comments or questions, seacoastsportsforum@yahoo.com. So Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast.